Yes, sir. Father, we want to thank you for the opportunity of being here tonight and sharing these few moments and sharing prayer for the guidance of this council. We thank you, God, for each thing you do for us, and we understand that it is from the least to the most major issues that are important to us and to our county and to the government of our county. We thank you for the men and women that serve this county and the capacities they're in. We pray, God, that there would be a guidance into their spirit and minds and hearts and just direct us in everything that we're doing, because we seek greater things from you. We understand, God, that there are problems everywhere, but we thank you, God, that we live in the county we're in, and I thank you for guidance to bring me into this county as well as these others that are here today. We ask you to direct their minds in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Motion by Neil, second by Ben. All in favor? Next, we have approved payment of bills. Motion by Darren, second by Brenda. All in favor? Next, we have approved treasurer's budget transfers as presented.
Make a motion.
Who made the motion? Brian? Jason, you second. All in favor? All right, next we approve treasurer's April monthly settlement. Motion by Darren. Second by Ben. All in favor? Approve the treasurer's May monthly settlement.
Make a motion.
Motion by Neil, second by Brenda. All in favor? Next, we have approved second reading Grayson County Fiscal Court's budget for 2023-2024.
Make that motion.
No changes
No
from
change.
the first reading.
Okay, so no changes from the first reading, so
Motion.
who?
Motion.
Darren, first motion, Ben, second. All in favor? All right. Next, approve Grayson County Fiscal Court's admin code and personnel policy. There's no changes on it from last year.
Motion.
Motion by Darren, second by Brenda. All in favor? Next, we have approved St. Paul's busing grant contract and resolution. Motion by Jason, second by Brian. All in favor? And next, we have rural and secondary road program with, I guess, it says Kevin Young, but you ain't.
No, stay with me.
Yeah.
Judge and members of the fiscal court, thank you for letting me come. My name is Bo Warren. I'm a branch manager for construction and maintenance in our District 4 office. With us today, we have our Chief District Engineer, Brad Bottoms, our Maintenance Section Supervisor, James Beecham, that covers Grayson County, and of course, you all probably know Mr. Stone here, our County Foreman. Just before we get started, I'd like to remind you how we fund our rural secondary program. This program is funded by 22.2% of the motor fuel tax receipts. These funds are allocated to all 120 counties based on a 5-point formula. And that formula is based on 1/5 equally among all counties, 1/5 based on the rural population, 1/5 based on the road miles, and 2/5 based on the land area. And once that money has been allocated to a county, it cannot be transferred to any other counties. They told me that you already had a copy of the presentation, so I'll just go over that with you. For this year, our first priority is our routine maintenance and traffic for our county maintenance crew, for them to be able to treat snow and ice, do ditching, auto patching, things like that. That estimated cost is $626,500 for the year. Our second priority is the county judge executive expense, and that is by statute $3,875. Our third priority is Kentucky 899 It's an asphalt paving job beginning at mile point 0 to Kentucky 88 at mile point 2.813 with an estimated cost of $438,585. Our fourth priority is a slide repair project on Kentucky 878 at mile point 4. And the anticipated cost for that project is $50,750. All totaled up, that lets our program be about $1,119,710 for the county. Any questions about those routes or anything? Okay. Just to quickly go over some of the projects that have already been let, and like our MP pavement resurfacing and other construction projects that are active in the county. We have the US 62 project in Litchfield, the Beehive Curve. That project, from what we've been told, has been awarded to Scotty's from the bonding company, and they are anticipating on getting started back on that project next week. It's supposed to have a substantial completion date at the end of 2023, which would mean all traffic would be driving in. The ultimate configuration, but probably going to be on base, and will be completed with surface this spring of 2024. We've got
That's asphalt base, so it will be paved, just won't be the final surface, just to make sure that's clear, so.
The end of 2023.
yes,
Yes.
end of the construction season this year.
Gotcha.
And there was a lot of back and forth between our legal folks in Frankfurt and the bonding company's legal folks to finally arrive at that. So we weren't really part of that conversation, but that's what we were told the schedule was agreed to, so.
Next project we have going on is the asphalt pavement rehab project on WK Parkway. That project is scheduled to be completed middle of November of this year. There's an asphalt resurfacing project on Rough River in the park that has a completion date of end of August of 2023. And then there is an HSIP project that's 17 miles long on Pick 259 south of Litchfield that has a July 31st, 2024 completion. They've done a lot of tree clearing out through there and took down a lot of the vegetation. They haven't got started on any of the structure extensions or pipe replacements or any of the shoulder work that would be going on with all that.
On 259.
259, yes.
What, how wide is that going to, are they just doing shoulders or what's happening?
I think the ultimate configuration is 11-foot driving lanes and
What's that?
11-foot driving lanes and 2 feet of shoulder. I think that's what
It should be adding roughly 2 feet of pavement to the entire length on both sides. So each side will have about 2 feet of pavement. It makes a substantial difference on how it feels, for sure. We did one recently in LaRue County on Kentucky 84. That's very similar to this.
And that's going from Barrett Creek, did you say?
It's 17-ish miles south of Litchfield.
Bear Creek to the county line, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, because I knew they moved a lot of fencing down through there. I've had a lot of people ask me, and I told them, I mean, we've been, I'm sure you've
I've
been
had a lot of
asking.
calls.
Huh?
I've had a lot of calls on it, yeah.
So, in some of the areas where, I mean, do you anticipate on, there are some houses that's really close to the road.
Everything we're doing is within, all the major works within the existing right of way. We do have consent releases from some property owners down through there, where we have to get off slightly to flatten out slopes or move back ditches, things like that.
Right.
But we will not be affecting any homes, anything like that. Any entrances we affect will put back as is or pave them, replace pipes, things like that, so.
Okay.
There is some water line relocation work associated with that. And it's part of their Build America requirements, so they're being hampered a little bit because of those. And
Will there be any water line replacement down 259 south from, say, up above, Bear Creek on up towards Smitty City? Will they have to move that water line?
Most of it's towards the south end of being like Edmondson County Water.
Okay. Well, this is Edmondson County Water. And the reason I say this is we're having some issues with Edmondson County Water District now. And, with the water supply. And we've got with Grayson County Water District, and I know this, I'm just asking you all where actually the lines are gonna be replaced, because if they are, now would be a good time to lay a 6-inch line instead of a 4-inch line that they have, because we're gonna tie into that line, Grayson County Water District is, which is right at, a mile past Bear Creek. That's where Edmondson County Water District starts service, and it goes on out. So the reason I ask is because Grayson County has a 6-inch line, Edmondson County has a 4-inch line, and Grayson County could supply most of the tanks down in the wax area, if they have a failure, which they do. And that's the reason I'm asking. That might be something.
We can get you the information on exactly where the lines will be replaced at. It's not gonna be the full length of the project, it's spots here, spots there.
Some slipper fields that are
Gotcha.
gonna be widening out just a little bit to make the shoulder
Right.
work.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how practical it'd be to upgrade the line size at the time, and, the water district or somebody would have to be responsible for that additional cost.
Right.
We can only replace in kind what is there, with those federal dollars, so.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking, if you're already gonna be digging and moving stuff, now would be a perfect time to do it.
It's a nominal cost.
So,
We can get you the information on exactly where that water line
Okay.
replacement
Yeah.
is, and we can go from there, so.
yeah, that's good. When's the bypass let?
Right now, it's hopefully this fall. We've got all the right of way, we have all of our right of way resolved. The railroad is still working to, I think 3 of the 4 parcels the railroad had to purchase, are in condemnation, unfortunately. But that's the railroad's process and not ours, so, if it follows our timeline, should have right of entry on those sometime late summer, early fall. And then we got a few utilities still moving out of the way, but again, hoping to let it this fall. May see some work over the winter, may not start till next spring. Depending on the
Has
contract.
utilities, has it been let to move those?
We have separate agreements with every different utility company, so they're all working on their own schedule. But as they are ready and get those agreements in place, they're moving. A lot of things have been moved. We are, I believe, moving some water and sewer with the project. That'll be part of our project.
Gotcha.
So some of that won't happen until we let our project. So,
Okay.
but we're pretty confident at this point that we will be working on that by next year at least. So.
Good deal. Anything else, Bo?
Yes, any
Any
questions?
questions? If they're here, might as well ask you boys if you got some questions, and ladies.
That was fine on the bypass. I appreciate you all coming in.
And just a reminder, I know a few weeks ago, there was a fatality at the railroad crossing at Quarry Road, right? So that, just a reminder that we'll actually be closing that crossing with the bypass project.
Yeah.
And having a new connection over to Quarry Road that'll tie directly to the bypass, and then you'll have a bridge over the railroad, or actually under the railroad at that point.
The permanent closing?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Be good.
And I'd called you the other day and asked you about railroad crossings also.
Mhm.
Someone had asked me about signs, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the railroad is responsible for the railroad crossing signs.
Immediately at the crossing, yes.
Okay.
So anything leading up to it, a lot of times that's us, but immediately at the crossing, those are generally on the railroad to do those.
Depends on who owns the facility, if it's a county road.
This was a county road you were inquiring about.
That is correct.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So yes, on a state route, we do take care of those signs, and just to clarify.
Yeah,
The county road, you were inquiring about a county road, and
Yes.
in those cases, it is the railroad's responsibility to put those signs up.
Yeah, now you all don't do anything, even the state crossings, right on the crossing itself, correct? You all just do the warning that there's gonna be a railroad, the yellow signs with the RR and the railroad crossing sign, correct?
Yeah, and cross spokes and, thermoplastic on the pavement.
Yeah. Okay,
But within the railroad right of way, essentially, if all of that is on the railroad company, so.
gotcha. Okay.
No, it probably was a good time to ask it, for some Amish signs down on 878, or 736.
Mhm.
Is it possible, we got 100 move in down there, I mean,
There is Amish signs on the beginning of it, as soon as you go up Porter Hill.
yeah.
And, you know, then,
I have to, they call, I don't.
and
some
they're
people-
62, that, they're probably not gonna put them in the middle. They got it on each
I understand.
end.
Right, and to be perfectly honest, people don't pay attention to signs anyway.
I don't
We put up
know.
all the signs we want to, and nobody even knows they're there.
I agree 100%. I guess a few calls about it,
And 54 coming towards town, they got an Amish sign up, they just put up in the last couple of months
See,
probably.
and I haven't even seen it. And I drive it all the time.
There was one there, we'll put it that way, when we put that tile in, there was one down there.
I've got another question also, is, on the parkway, of course, you know, some people can't, determine whether or not, you know, county government takes care of the road or the state takes care of the road,
Right.
which, I mean, we know, but, you know, general public, honestly, they don't know. So we get a lot of calls. The parkway, from my understanding, is that gonna be where it's so rough? I mean, we've had, I can't go into a convenience store without somebody saying, you need to have your paving crew do a better job on the parkway, and I'm like, look, we don't take care of the parkway.
We'll give it to you if you want. So-
No, we don't want it. We don't want the parkway.
The recent patches that have been put in, yes, that'll all be, covered over the entire, everything will, outside of just the patch areas.
Well, will you take all the, will you take every county road, even on the lakes, and we'll take the parkway?
Yeah. That'd be negatory.
I'll do a trade right now.
Yeah, we got a
careful what you
lot,
wish for.
we got a lot of them. We got a lot of them. All right, so that's gonna be milled down, right? All that and then repaved, so.
Yes.
Yeah, all those patches weren't placed by an asphalt company, they're placed by a person that's doing the relief joint failure and the,
West State.
yeah, it's all
So,
state.
so you gotta tell me, I mean, we get a lot of calls. Surely you all get them too.
We do.
We have, yeah. And I said
I
that's-
sort of thought the reason they was so rough, they left them so rough is to slow people down. Because they're working right on the side of it and they fly, I'm serious.
That was not intentional, but it's just a byproduct of doing the patching and the full depth repair.
Most of the time they're left a little high because it's really hard to get compaction equipment in there to compact all that, especially when you gotta dig out that's a couple feet deep.
What's the timeline for that milling to start with the new pavement going down? Is it within the next month, too?
That's the way Scotty's really going on.
It's got a completion date by the end of this year.
Oh, boy, they just say.
Stand up, Chris.
Threw me under the bus, didn't they?
So, it's got a completion date by the end of the year, but,
Okay.
it may be near that point before it's all done, so.
Gotcha.
They're trying to hold up to the bridge works somewhat complete, that way they don't have to worry about any materials dropping from the bridge structuring damage to
Gotcha.
engine pavement.
Okay. All right. All right, anybody else got anything? Any questions?
I'm just tickled to start in 62.
Restart it.
Yeah.
Restart, yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all, we appreciate it. Hey, Mark, you need anything, get with Norman.
You gotta sell,
You know,
right?
I'm feeling supper time.
Yeah, yeah. All right, next we have, approve the agreement and resolution for the, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for the resurfacing of Barton Run Road and Foxborough Drive, which that was sent in, you all recall, I sent in a bunch of discretionary dollars. And of course, they go out and grade them. And then it goes back through the transportation cabinet, and then the governor's office basically decides whether or not we're gonna get it. We ended up getting $201,649 for those two roads, so we just need a motion for the agreement.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ben and second by Brenda, all in favor? All right, next we need to accept the salt bids from Cargill, which is $109.50 a ton, and Compass Materials of America, which is $110 a ton. We need a motion to accept those. Motion by Neil. Second by Brian, all in favor? Next we have accept the volunteer fire department's petitions from Tony Whelan, which Tony couldn't be here. He's had a death in the family. His wife's mother has passed away. But they turned in all their paperwork, and all that is basically the petitions is so they can collect the taxes, the fire dues tax in November. So I need a motion to do that.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion by Neil and second by Brian. Okay, all in favor? And that's something we do every year too, by the way. So sometimes Tony's here, or sometimes one of the representatives for the fire department's here to just tell you all they've got everything and got it turned in. So, approve jailer's payment of bills.
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Next we have approved.
Darren.
I'm sorry. I was trying to do 3 or 4 things at once here. Approve jailer's budget transfers as presented. Motion by Jason. Second by Brian. All in favor? All right, next we have approved sheriff's monthly settlement. Motion by Ben, second by, who was that? Darren. All in favor? Next we have accept Grayson County Sheriff's settlement 2021 taxes.
Motion.
Motion by Darren, second by Brenda, all in favor? Next, we have accept the Grayson County Health Department's minutes from March 14th, 2023. Motion by Neil, second by Jason, all in favor? Next, we have to accept the Grayson County Health Department's 2024 budget, which you all had sent to you. If there no questions, motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ben, second by Brian, all in favor? Next, we have approved the Grayson County Tourism's 2023-2024 budget, which you also had sent to you. Motion by Darren, second by Neil, all in favor? Next, we have approved franchise agreement between Grayson County, Kentucky and Spectrum Mid-America LLC. Joe, do you know anything about that? Did Jeremy talk to you about that any?
He sent that out, and he said that it's standard, it's not non-exclusive, and they also agreed to a change under 4C that was based on the hassle with Windstream's contractors not actually fixing those ditches like they should, so.
Yeah, so he said he would recommend for them to go ahead and pass the franchise agreement.
He didn't recommend either way, he said that it's a standard agreement, so.
Okay.
I don't think there's a problem with it from my understanding, it's a good agreement.
Does anybody got any questions on this?
So does that mean we're gonna have Spectrum offered here?
Spectrum would be offered here, from my understanding of reading the agreement. Of course, I'll let Jeremy look at it.
Spectrum would be offered here, but it's not non-exclusive.
There was an exclusive contract signed, and I wasn't on city council, you might remember this whenever you was Comcast signed an exclusive agreement, so there was an issue of getting other franchises in here, because it was an exclusive agreement. This, however, is non-exclusive. So they're wanting to come in and offer their services, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, and they're wanting to come in and offer their services, but it is a non-exclusive agreement. So other people can come in as well, other companies, and offer, their services.
Yeah, that'll be all right.
So,
Jeremy said he had no issues with it.
yeah, Jeremy, and we had Jeremy look over it, and he said he had no issues with it at all. So,
There's no issues with the contract itself. So.
yeah.
I make a motion.
Motion by Darren, second by Brenda, all in favor? All right, next we need approval to declare the 1995 Ford Crown Victoria and the 2000 Jeep Cherokee is surplus and sell on Gov Deals, which is sitting out back.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Neil.
Second.
Second, who was that? Second by Ben, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have open sealed bids for road materials and
Brush, limestone, we have 2.
Caneyville crushed stone, let's see. $601 is what they've got on here, $14 a ton. 5s, $14 a ton. 8s, $15 a ton. 9s, $15 a ton. 11s, $15 a ton. 57s, $14 a ton. Riprap, $15 a ton, and DGA is $13 a ton.
And Scotty's.
Scotty's is 601s, if y'all wanna write this down, I don't know, $12.25 a ton for 601s, $14.25 a ton for 5s, 8s are not available, 9s, $18.65 a ton, 11s not available, 57s is $15.25 a ton, riprap is $16 a ton, and DGA is $13 a ton. That's the 2 crushed stones.
Okay, it's cheaper than they.
Well, they are on some, but 601's not on. This is 12.25 on Scotty's and 14 on this. 5s at 14.25 and they're at 14. And the 8s, they don't have 8s, which I haven't seen 8s either, quite honestly. And then 9s, 18.65, and they're 15 on their 9s. And dense grade's 13, it's the same. Riprap, Scotty's is 16, this is 15. 57s, 15.25, and they're 14. So, y'all wanna look at them, pass them around?
Make a motion, we accept both bids.
Right, but you don't have to buy them.
Yeah, normally we accept them both, because I mean, if we're on this end of the county,
Right.
if you're gonna,
Can't run
spend a
truck.
quarter or a ton, you can't really, and we do get quite a bit from Caneyville crushed stone when we're down in that area, so. I mean, I probably accept both of them, is what we normally do, so.
Okay, make a motion.
Motion by Neil to accept both bids.
Second.
Second by Brian, all in favor? All right, what's next?
Next is emulsified asphalt. Only 1 bid.
What is this?
Emulsified asphalt.
Okay. This is asphalt materials, which is actually where we get our chip and seal oil and that type of stuff from. It was delivered $275. HFRS 2 is $275. AE 200 is $295, and AE 300 is MS3 is $310. And we never buy it at the plant because we've got a tank out there at the road department. So this is the only bid that was actually submitted for that, so entertain a motion. Motion by Jason, second by Brenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Mixed asphalt, only 1 bid.
Hot mix asphalt, there's only 1 bid, which was Scotty's Contracting and Stone. And base is $82. Surface is $85. Now this is if we buy it at the plant, right, Chris?
Yeah, it's pick up FOB.
Yeah. $82 for base, $85 for surface. Laid in place base is $88, and laid in place surface is $98.50. Gone up, hasn't it? Gone up a little bit.
the asphalt has gone up. Your actual in-place price, I closed the gap because I felt bad because the asphalt's went up. But
Yeah.
I closed the gap on the, I think you were $20-ish difference between pickup and in-place, and
Yeah. $20 difference between them laying and.
I'm hoping we just lay long roads is what I'm hoping.
So, all right, the only bid we got, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Brian, second by Jason, all in favor?
Tiles, 3 bids.
What is it?
Tiles.
All right, road tiles. We got 3 bids. This is, Line, Waterworks, plastic number, 12 is $9.76, and I'm assuming this is per foot. Okay, so, some of these, somebody else might have them differently, so we'll have to break them down, but anyway. 12-inch, $9.76 a foot, 15, $13.68 a foot, 18, $18.26 a foot, 24, $29.02 a foot. Galvanized, there is no bid for galvanized. This is only lined plastic.
Futures.
Future Designs. Number 12-inch, $8.20 a foot. 15-inch, $11 a foot. 18-inch, $13.90 a foot. And 24 is $22.50 a foot. Galvanized, 12-inch, $15.85 a foot. 15, $18.99 a foot. 18 is $23.60 a foot. And 24 is $32.40 a foot.
Metal culverts.
Metal culverts. This is no bid on any of the plastic. 12-inch is $15.95 a foot. 15 is $19.95 a foot. And 18 is $23.95 a foot. And $31.95 a foot for 24-inch, which Futures and theirs is pretty close together. Normally what we do on these, I think last year we only had 2 bids, and this year we've got 3. Now what we run into, and I'll just tell you, is inventory issues. So we'll call to get one, we have to have it, they don't have it. Futures might not have it, Line might have it, Line might not have it, Futures has got it, and this company here is new. And we do use a lot of metal tiles, so especially when we're meeting the state roads. So
all of them?
I mean, I probably would, just so we could, we've been having inventory issues with tiles for a long time now, so.
I make a motion to accept all 3.
Motion by Darren, second by Ben, all in favor?
Gas and diesel, 1.
Gas and diesel, one bid from Key Oil Company, 87 octane unleaded gasoline, $2.27. Ultra low diesel on road is $2.60, and diesel off road is $2.40. Motion to accept the bid. Motion by Brenda, second by Brian, all in favor?
3 bids.
All right, this is hauling, when sometimes we have, we get in a bind with a dump truck, like right now, we've got one in the shop. We have to have some of the local haulers to haul to us. This is from Daniel Aller's Hauling, $7 anywhere in the county. So it doesn't matter what it is, it's $7 anywhere in the county. This is A&E Hauling. Anything, any material, $6 anywhere in the county. This is $6 a mile, is what it is, or $6 a ton. $6 a ton. Yeah, $6 a ton. And so $7 a ton, $6 a ton. And We've got, Timmy Decker Trucking is $6 anywhere in the county. And it's got $100 per hour outside the county. And I think there's been a couple times they've had to have him go and get something in Jefferson County where we had to have something.
Like salt or something.
Yeah, and there was an issue, we had to have some sand for something, and he went up there and picked it up, so. And, so anyway, that's the 3. So both these are 6, and then Daniel is 7, and, sometimes, like I said, sometimes these guys are tied up, Timmy might be tied up, or, A&E might be tied up, or, vice versa, so.
Make a motion to accept all of them.
Motion to accept all of them by Darren. Second by Jason, all in favor. And we will tell the supervisor to be aware that we need to probably go with these 2 before we went with all of it, but it's $1 more on the top, so. You want to flip this up?
One mowing bid.
All right, we got one mowing bid, and this is for the judicial building over there on Carroll Gibson Boulevard, and it is $130. Mow and weed eat grounds, blow off grass clippings, trash removal from grounds, limb removal from grounds, $130 per mowing. So, and he's got a copy of this general liability and all that. So,
Who is it?
Edwards Lawn Service.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Brian,
Second.
second by Neil, all in favor?
That's all on road and mowing now.
Now, all right, that's all on the road and the mowing and materials. Now we've got open bids for EMS, sealed bids for the new ambulances. All right, is this just one?
That's just one.
Gotcha. All right.
That's from the America.
Do we need to get a nice back?
They have one up.
What kind of truck?
If I'm reading this correctly, this is a spec sheet, if you all will read the spec sheet, and I will. Well, they have to go by the specs that was sent out in the.
It wasn't an all-inclusive bid. There's 87 pages of specs. We just want to know what is on the truck and what we didn't get on the truck. And that's the only way we could really determine, because not every manufacturer manufactures the same type ambulance module.
Yeah.
So we wanted to know what was on it and what wasn't on it.
Okay, this bid from Mid-America Ambulance and Coach Sales, it's got the conversion at $148,367, the chassis at $75,631, and the actual stretcher is $44,563.80, which a total cost of each unit $268,561.80.
Is that Ford?
We did step up to 450, but the reason we did is because the air ride liquid cool springs on 450 is standard because it can't meet the load height that's required with the federal government to load stretchers. So that truck became a $2,000 more truck, cost $2,000 more to do that than to take the 350 and add that to it.
Ford, right?
Yeah, these, and I should have told you, this is a 2026 Ford F450 XLT 4x4. It's got all the dimensions here on it. 6.7 diesel ambulance by Road Rescue Construction in accordance with specifications of Road Rescue specifications. Unit will meet or exceed all federal specifications. ground vehicle standards and state of Kentucky specifications. So that's that one, 268.
Is that the computer we was talking about, under that cost so much, the update?
No, the monitors are supposed to have, they update daily if they need to, but the trucks do also. They all have internet on, where they
This last
can do downloads if there's a recall that they can fix through that. But the monitors now have gotten to the point that they can't update, they can update, but they can't get to the current standards. So we're actually having to change those out now.
Okay, this next one is, there's exceptions on the bid proposal. It says see last page. Page 13, grilled logo, MD, Road Rescue stainless grill logo with diamond grade blue reflective backing. Our Medics ME 153 ambulance will not contain Road Rescue branding.
That was our fault in the office, and we didn't realize it. When we used the specs that we were using, we forgot to get the branding out of it. And again, we're not asking for a Road Rescue. We utilize their specs because that's who has sold us the last 6 ambulances. Actually, they sold us the last 8 or 10, but
Yeah.
through our proofreading, we were looking at more dimensions and layouts because the trucks that we've been buying they're no longer built. McCoy Miller's out of business now. This is the same Rev Group. I'll try to explain that. Rev Group owns about 6 different ambulance manufacturers. They also own fire truck manufacturers. They have went out and bought all the companies up and put them under one roof. VMS, they put them under a roof for fire. Well, they have done away with that line of truck. That's all it amounts to. It's just kind of like when they did away with Pontiac and Oldsmobile, they're still GM, but Rev Group still builds these trucks. They just put us on a different truck. But doing that, we've got a little more specific on making sure, we want them to be as similar inside as they can because as a crew moves from one truck to the other, the equipment has to be in the same compartment when you're trying to find it in a few seconds. And if they're not standardly laid out inside, then, hunting for something you can't find, sometimes we don't have time to do that. So that's why we've asked for those specs, and he's taken some exceptions, and I think most of them is because we overlooked the branding.
Okay, and then it says on page 63, thermostat and HVAC hose line master control, digital, a hose line, digital low voltage heating and air conditioning thermostat shall be provided to control the specific environmental systems. And our Medics ME 153 will utilize the Fallow brand HVAC and thermostat in lieu of hose line.
Yeah, and the reason we spec the code line is because they can service that in Campbellsville, but they've assured us that they can service the other one in Cincinnati. So as long as we're within being able to drive there and get it, because there are some parts of the AC system can't be serviced locally. Sometimes because it works in conjunction with like a home thermostat back there. Some of those parts are only pertinent to that type of vehicle, like an RV or an ambulance module.
Okay, this bid was actually from PennCare, PENN Care. Base per unit price $208, $436.20. Graphics $5,000. Then the cot accessories $44,563 for a total of $258,000 even. So
Now,
10,000.
now we're looking at 2 of these, correct?
2.
Because I look, we get them every other year, right, what we're doing.
Our goal is to buy them every 2 years. I'd make the oldest one
8 years old.
8 years old.
Which will be the Chevrolets, which will then will be.
But with the chassis issues, not being able to get chassis delivered, that pushes them 30 months out. And that's why we're here tonight trying to get.
Well, this one is a 2026, so
Yeah.
that's how long this is gonna be before they're even here if we ordered them today. So
The one thing we need to look for in both bids, and Joe or Jeremy needs to look through that, we need to make sure there's some ambulance bids that have been coming out with that chassis price that the day that it's built you pay the chassis price that Ford has put on that chassis. So instead of looking at a $258,000 ambulance, we might be looking at a $268,000 if the chassis goes up $10,000 in 2 years. Or that one that's $260 could be higher. So we need to verify that both of them bid a price on the chassis or a price on the unit that's gonna be held and not one that could fluctuate.
Okay.
I mean, and they're in the same business as everybody else. It's hard to bid a truck, you don't know what you're gonna be paying for it. But if somebody if one of those has taken that and said, this is gonna be the price, and the other one says, we're gonna charge you whatever the chassis costs us, or we're gonna up the charge on the chassis if whatever Ford ups it to us, we really need to know that up front, because it might make a difference in who is really cheapest. And we can do either ambulance that they would bid. We're good with either manufacturer. I think it's a ridiculous price. Like I told y'all earlier, the first ambulance I bought in 1984 was $10,250. And this is, I mean, the last ones we bought were 174, and in 3 years, they
$100,000
Well, we just bought a dump truck that's $100,000 more than we gave for it 18 months ago.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but we
Same
just want,
truck.
yeah, but we
Same
just need to
exact
make
truck.
sure, there's no
You do?
open ends on any of that stuff.
They can make it higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be, we might be thinking I don't know, I've not looked at them, but my point is, we might think we're buying the cheapest and it might be the more expensive. Until somebody can look through it and make sure there's no hidden clause that says, we'll pay whatever the chassis costs.
Does he need to review those just for that reason?
Yes, we don't need to, I don't think, we're 30 months from getting them. So if we took 2 weeks or next month or whatever.
Well, whenever we, put it in the paper, we have the right to refuse or accept any bid, so, I think they probably need to go back and review the specs, because I mean, them specs are probably 100 pages deep.
Right.
Well, 78, so, and this one here is probably about the same. So they probably need to look at that, and, we will accept one of the two bids, but I think you probably need to review them first. Would you think so?
It's too much money not to.
Yeah.
And it's too much. We're gonna run these trucks 8 years. We don't wanna get something that we've overlooked, or we've done that in the past where we've missed something. And
Right, and if another company's, say, spec one a little different, and they're $15,000 of difference, and that's what you need to run, and you're paying that much money anyway, then you go ahead and get what, we need to make sure we get
I
what we need.
don't wanna spend any more than we have to spend.
I know that.
Because it's too much to begin with, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, since we've opened the bid and the bids are closed, I mean, it's gonna be one of these two that we go
Agreed.
with, unless we decide to, reject both of them if something's in there that we don't actually need, so.
I've talked to several people that have bid several other services that have bid ambulances, and, you know, that if we rejected both of them and bid gas engines, I've not been able to find anybody that does the transfers to Louisville the way we do them. I'm afraid of a gas engine.
I would be too.
Yeah.
I mean, it would actually be cheaper for us to operate, fuel's cheaper, maintenance is cheaper, but I don't know that we'd get 300,000 miles out of it.
Well, you're not talking that much money difference, probably, what, $10,000-$12,000 difference in a gas and diesel anyway, and you're talking about.
Well, the chassis are, I mean, I've priced chassis for myself.
Yeah,
Then, the gas chassis are about $10,000 cheaper than the diesel chassis.
So if it's spending 268,
that's what I'm saying.
You go with
Make sure we get what we
$10,000.
want,
Yeah.
that works the best.
and those chassis they build one chassis for an ambulance. Basically, it has no carpet in it, rubber mat. It does have power windows and door locks and cruise and tilt, but I have so many different employees that are different sizes. If you don't have tilt, you know, it doesn't accommodate a shorter person or a taller or a heavier person or whatever, and that does accommodate, because you can adjust that. And when you're going to Louisville, as much as we go to Louisville, you don't want them making their 4th or 5th trip and be uncomfortable.
Do they have the pedal travel on them?
Yeah, I think the Fords do. I can't remember if Chevrolet do or not, but they.
I knew it was an option on Ford, I just didn't know if it was in that spec or not, but that's.
Well, that's why
We need-
I get in the truck and drive it like it is unless the seat's all the way up on the steering wheel, but I think some of the, I know the Fords have pedal travel, and I'm pretty sure the Chevrolet do. The shorter, our female crews, they'll have to move the pedals. And now we have more probably female than we do male.
So you spec these out like you wanted them, correct?
We looked at this, we found a set of specs that was close to what our trucks are now
Okay.
and went with them, so we didn't have to rewrite 80 pages of specs.
Right.
And that's not uncommon, but we didn't make it an all-inclusive bid. If we'd made it an all-inclusive bid, the second bid would have been thrown out because they took exceptions. Or I misspoke, but if we'd done where they, if we had bid that where they couldn't take exception to anything, we would have only had one person to look at it. And we did not do that. We can buy either truck or either ambulance because we did not make it where it was exclusively to those specs.
Who
We
we
just-
bought the last ambulance from?
Mid-America and Campbellsville. And that's who.
Ireland.
And they, I mean, I don't have a problem with them. We bought from here for years, but.
How
they-
far
they
away
shot-
is the other place to get?
Does it say Erlanger or what's it say?
Do you have to send them back to Campbellsville for warranty work?
America.
Yeah, but I mean, they have an appointment for us. When we get there, they're waiting for us.
Niles, Ohio.
Okay.
But now that's where it's built, but he has I'm sorry, he's either in Clarksville or Jeffersonville. I think he's in Clarksville. That's where he is at. I did ask about them. They have mobile service, so they would come here and work on it. We did, Georgetown, Scott County bought ambulances from him, Shelbyville bought. We did some research on because I felt like that it might come down to where it may even be the same because Mid-America and him did ambulances in one of the counties in Kentucky and they were exactly the same. They were buying two. They bought one from one and one from the other. And I talked to them and they ended up buying two from Pennacare after that because they liked the truck better. As far as service, I don't feel that there's any difference in them because if they had bad service, they wouldn't be in the business. Now, with the bunch of computerized stuff that's on there, most of them are set up now to where if something goes wrong, they just take the board out and put a new board in it and they fix the board and move on. I mean, it's not, they don't have them down for days like they used to at one time and have to rewire them. And our trucks being newer, that the module part of it is not down. Hardly ever do we have an issue with the modular unit part of it. It's usually the chassis part that we're having trouble. And Ford is a little bit harder for us to get service because we have to take it to Allstate and Louisville. You know, it'd be a lot easier to take it to Dan Howard, but Chevrolet fuel system is not held up for us. We're constantly fighting that. After it gets 125 or 50,000 miles on it, then we're in trouble. And we're fighting the DEF system on both of those Chevys now.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll just table that until we get, till we have time to look over the specs and, we'll reconvene at the next meeting, so we've had all that done, so. Fiscal court committees, we met, everything seems up to date, other new business, Norman.
I'd just like to, one thing, I'd like to give a shout out to my staff on our tax. We did improve the tax audit that we received. We were out of $14-15 million we did on property taxes. We were about $14 to the good. So, and that's an awesome figure. It doesn't happen everywhere. So Norma Brown and Tom Aller are the ones that handle the taxes. And so I want to thank them for the great job that they did on our tax audit.
Jason?
Nothing new.
Dan?
No, no, sir.
Nothing? Jason? Joe? Anything? We got a special, next meeting will be a special call meeting on July 3rd at 11 a.m. That's on a Monday. We've got to do that for the reapportionment that is got to be completed because of the census. And from what I understand, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. but it will change because we had some population change in some of the magisterial districts, so that will change, and we have to appoint 3 commissioners at that time. That'll be at the special call meeting, and Charlotte will also be on that board, but however, she will be a non-voting member. So, but she will basically be sort of heading the board up, so. And Lincoln Trail Area Development District will be sort of in control of it, and taking the horns over and making sure everything's done properly. So that's one good thing that they do things like that for us. So, and so anyway, that is going to happen, but I don't foresee anything major happening. We might go from one road to the next. Some of y'all's districts might change a little bit, but it's not going to be a bunch. So anyway, old business. Anybody? Nothing. I got a question, Chris. Chip and seal. Did you ever get a price on that from?
Thought I emailed that. Me and Darren was talking about that, so I told him if you haven't seen it, I'll make sure you see it tomorrow.
Okay, and one thing you all might not know is me and Chris had talked, and Scotty's actually offers chip and sealing also, and I want to know what the price is and how much it is, because I'm going to compare it to our numbers of how much we have in it. So that way, if we have 4 guys out there with the material, the time, the manpower versus if they do it. So, but we would definitely have to, we chip and seal summer, every day. They're chipping and sealing somewhere. So we would have to work out some kind of.
Means and methods are a little bit different too. You should be getting more out of your chip seal than what you're getting, in my opinion.
We're not, some of them we do, some of them we do not. So, and I think it has a lot to do with the ditching.
Yep.
And because, some of them hold road,